Thunder Guild. Ay, ay, ay. Alright. I need to blow some steam. Work was tough today. Now, those mod changes, I am genuinely curious about. Let's see here. Ooh, wait. This is a ramp up. Come on. Oh! Different combo. Let's try that again. Because near the end of that, when I changed it, it went nasty. Nasty. Downright nasty. Control. Oh. That took way too long. Why is my build so weird? Maybe it's this RNG. Oh, nasty. Just nasty. Anyways, welcome back. I'm sorry I took so long with this, because I've been busy the last couple of weeks. Mostly with work and just a bunch of other things. I really don't want to go into detail, but anyways, I'm going to make up for that. I'm gonna double upload. This video will be one tomorrow. I'll do the next one pretty much tomorrow. Might triple upload if I feel like it, but I'm gonna keep it to at least once a week, with exceptions. Well, mostly if it's something important comes up, or if I just let my habit fall off. But in which case, there will be, if I don't upload one week, there will be a double upload the next week. That I can guarantee. Anyways, I got 3 weapons for you this time. Well, 3 weapons as per usual. I might flick in a 4th. Because now that I can slim it down, I can do that. Shut up, Discord. 1 second. Okay, problem solved. Anyway, so the first melee weapon we got for you today is Reaper Prime. Now, Reaper Prime was probably the worst among the least used sides because of hate. But I find it's definitely worth picking up now. Well, it was already good as it was, because, and I mean, look at this thing. Double blades, it looks dope. It was just outclassed by hate, and I have yet to try hate since the melee changes, but Reaper Prime is definitely one worth picking up. Onto the build, I did have to change a few things. Originally, I did pretty much the old standard build, which was just like Prime Pressure Point, Blood Rush, Condition Overload, pretty much the old meta for this. Now, I need to say one thing. Because of the changes to Sacrificial Steel, I've kept it 2 ranks from the top. Well, 1, because I don't have the Endo to max it out. 2, I really don't feel the need, because that much crit chance, I mean, look at this. There's nothing else on here affecting the base crit chance, and that's at 98%. So, I could easily throw Berserker on here, and it won't matter one bit. It will. I could start with a base 30% attack speed boost after the first strike. This thing just pretty much got. This thing's got. It's got everything it needs in spades thanks to Sacrificial Steel. In terms of builds, we've got Blood Rush for extra crit chance, because 98% is good and all, but as it goes up, it's definitely going to, like, having those orange and eventual red crits will really be nice and juicy. Then we have Condition Overload. Why, you may ask? Because it does have a fairly high status chance. So we flick over here, as you can see, it's at 25%. So I feel that while it may not be ideal, it's still just enough to make a sort of crit status hybrid work. Here's the weird thing, though. Why? You'll probably one of your questions would be, why am I not going into the full dual stats in this case? Well, I feel the raw damage is better in this case, like having it's sort of in the middle. Because with Condition Overload, I get more damage as I proc status. and with just Vicious Frost adding and Drifting Contact with the extra 100% status chance, so doubling the 25 to 50, I feel that's enough. I might be unlucky with RNG, but from a cold start in a simulacrum, that does show it's not going to be exactly the same in actual games. Now, Scythes, I actually quite like Stalking Fan for the stance. I definitely need to try Reaping Spiral, but it's looking pretty good. The Idol's, it does a bucket load of single target damage. And I mean a heaps and heaps. I did a couple of tests earlier when I was using my Wukong, and like nothing else, like maybe the occasional buff from my Kavat, which I really didn't see. Like, I got unlucky with that buff, so all the tests I did before, it was just the Reaper Prime with this build by itself. So I am happy with this. So on to the rest of the build. We got Organ Shadow for critical damage, Berserker for attack speed as we get proc crits, which is not going to be very long because of the high base, thanks to Sacrificial Steel. If I were to throw on Sacrificial Pressure, this goes up to 225 at this current rank. So, not bad. Not bad at all. And as I was explaining earlier, we've got Vicious Frost for the cold damage, and Prime Fever Strike to add raw toxin damage. If you feel you want more status going into this build, you could always swap this out for Virulent Scourge. So, there's no problem with that. If you want to get more consistent status procs to further boost Condition Overload, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But I felt that Prime Fever Strike here was good enough for me. And last but not least, Drifting Contact for combo duration to help boost Blood Rush and some extra status chance. Now, here's one thing. One thing I'm going to start doing. I can list stats that will really benefit the weapon in question if you have a ribbon. In terms of the Reaper Prime, we have, like, on my ribbon, it's not ideal, but it adds heat damage, finisher damage, and critical damage. The first and last one, definitely good. Because critical damage, well, it could be a replacement for Organ Shadow if I had a decent negative to boost it further. Sorry, but. And the heat damage, while by itself isn't very good, it can strip. The heat procs can strip armor and stack. So I could have this on and replace. So here's what I'll do. Because of my D polarity, I will drop Organ Shadow, put Drifting Contact here, and then throw my Reaper Ribbon here. See, all it does is add heat damage. It does lower my crit damage a little, but I feel it does perfectly fine. It's got. I'll show it with my ribbon, and I'll show the non-ribbon build afterwards. So it says a cold start in simulation, but the extra proc. Oh, that strike was just nasty. Very nasty. It knocked out a massive chunk of that Bombard's health. Then again, that was a finisher. Let's see if I can do this without triggering a finisher. Try number 2. No finishers, please, Bombard. Don't knock down. Oh, those slash procs. I didn't even have to do anything after that initial combo. So, you can see, Reaper Prime, with just the raw damage alone, that finisher was definitely a big kicker, though. Whew! So, to go over what I was saying, there's quite a few stats you could have on ribbons for this. With its high disposition, you could do a fair amount with this. You could go extra critical chance to further boost your base. You could have raw damage if you feel it if you'd like to have some initial starter for before Condition Overload kicks in. You could do combo duration, so you could drop Drifting Contact. Status chance if you want to just drop Vicious Frost and add a 90% elemental in its place. You could have attack speed, always a plus. You could have crit damage, and if you want an elemental, highly suggest heat. Why? Because again, the whole stripping armor from the heat procs. Finisher damage, it's not that bad if you can consistently get a good finisher, because you saw the nasty damage the Reaper Prime did to that bomb bar with a finisher. Woo! Then I could also recommend. Actually, I think that pretty much covers it. Those 7 stats will be the one, your ideal stats to have on a Riven. You can have a bunch of others, but as long as those, like, you can have a selection of those 7, Reaper Prime will benefit regardless of what combination of those 7. So, like, you can have crit damage, attack speed, and raw damage with a decent negative. Not bad. I would not complain, and that would be worth a bucket load of plat. But platinum worth is not what I'm talking about here. Those 7 stats: heat, crit damage, crit chance, status chance, raw damage, attack speed, heat damage. And if I had to suggest any more, I'd say maybe toxin damage, so you can do a bunch of other things. Like, you could probably make gas, more or viral damage. Like, essentially it will replace, to help you replace other mods. But the first 7, those are at least one, preferably 3 of them, is a must-have. So we'll go back to my non-ribbon build, so we put Dripping Contact back here, and throw an Organ Shatter. Now, even without that extra damage from my Riven, Reaper Prime is not something to scoff at, especially with the changes to Sacrificial Pressure. Or not Pressure, Sacrificial Steel, sorry. As you can see, without my Riven, it was still kicking some serious ass. So, I have yet to try the Bala, but I've heard that it does the highest single target damage as a dagger. Whether it's true, I have yet to find out, but I am definitely going to find that out. But my main priority is doing weapons for non-meta weapons. Now, let's go on to the next weapon. I haven't done the build, like, on screen, so you're just going to see me do the build on screen. But the next one I'm going to do is an old favorite of mine, the Dakra Prime. I already had 3 former in it invested. Now you'll think, onto the, Dakra Prime was really underused. It was outclassed by Broken War, and then eventually the Crow-Cur. So, it was very underused. With the changes to Sacrificial Steel and melee in general, it got a massive buff. Because, like, if we look over this, 36% base critical chance, and 2.4 times crit multiplier. Not bad. 18% status chance, not too. It was okay for the past version of Condition Overload, but now it's a bit meh in a lot of cases. But on this, I feel it was just right. Because if we go back to my main build, as you can see, it's pretty much the same build I have for the Reaper Prime. And like before, it's got the same. Well, in terms of dots, it has the same disposition, but I can't remember the exact number. So, you could get similar level stats from Dakra Prime Rivens as you could Reaper Prime Rivens. And one thing both weapons currently share is that they're both in the vault. Though I find Mag Prime gets unvaulted a fair amount, unless the EE have changed that significantly. So, because last time I checked, I just checked earlier, and Ash Prime and Volban Prime are getting unvaulted next. So, lit! So you can get Fragor Prime, Axolotl Prime, Volban Prime, Ash Prime, Vectus Prime, and Carrier Prime, along with their respective cosmetics. So, that's pretty much all I'm going to go into. But to sum it up, those are good. Like, some of those are pretty good. I haven't tried Fragor Prime yet. Really should. Anyways, for my Riven, it's fairly good, though I would like to change that last stat. It's got attack speed and slash damage, as you can see. So ultimately, it's going to tilt the status procs towards slash, and it's going to add attack speed. So all in all, not bad, not bad at all. Though I would, as I said, because of the nerfs to Maiming Strike and its overall effect on swords, even before the change, it's not really worth it. I would like to keep those two at the top, because those are pretty good, but if I could change that third stat, I would change it to probably combo duration. Or stat chance. So, in terms of stats for a Riven, for Dakra Prime, I'd recommend attack speed. That's pretty much a guaranteed must-have on a lot of weapons. So if you can replace Prime Fury or Berserker with a Riven, that's fine and good, because you're just essentially giving three mods in one. So attack speed, raw damage, depending on the scenario. If you're doing a crit weapon, having raw damage is better. But if you had a status weapon or a crit status hybrid, it would be better to have status chance, because you could proc condition overload more consistently. Another one I could recommend, again, if it was an elemental, it'd be heat for the armor stripping, because if you could put viral and a slash together with the heat, you're stripping armor, cutting enemy health in half, and you're doing essentially, it's viral and heat is a match made in heaven. And if you could pull that off with a Riven and not sacrifice damage output on your builds, heat is definitely the go-to element for a Riven, at least in my opinion. Next one on the list is status chance. Wait, no, sorry, brain started off. Attack speed, crit chance, raw damage, heat damage, attack speed. Oh, for God's sakes. Sorry, I had to cut over a little bit because my mouth was just going apeshit crazy. In terms of stats, I'd recommend for a Riven, we've got attack speed, big plus on any melee weapon, unless it breaks the stance, like it did with some stances in the past. I'm hoping that's been fixed. So, any form of raw damage, like on my Dakra Prime Riven, it's got slash damage, so it boosts the primary damage type of the Dakra Prime. So, and depending on the damage type of the weapon, it's probably better to just go raw damage if you have a crit weapon. But if you have a crit status hybrid with more emphasis on status chance, your best bet is to add status chance, because you could add condition overload. You can make condition overload kick in more consistently. Crit chance, because the higher your base, honestly, the better. Even with the sacrificial steel at like rank 8, I've got 100% crit chance on Dakra Prime, but if you don't have sacrificial steel, true steel gives about 120% critical chance, and your Riven can cover that pretty easily. Elemental wise, I'd have heat. Heat's my main one. Sorry, burp. Because I consistently like to, on slash weapons, I like to run viral or corrosive for any other type. Or like any weapon that has an extremely low status chance. So, raw corrosive damage or viral damage. So if I could add heat to that, that would mean I get some armor stripping along with halving enemy health. So all well and good. Then you got crit damage. You could have range, because that isn't, like, the way range works is really not that bad. You have range on this, and that would be a bit. Heck, you could even have range on the Reaper Prime too. That will be an 8 stat I can recommend. So, I just thought of that one on the fly. Having range will definitely help with, like, room clearing. It won't help much in damage output, but it could help make weapons, in terms of range, comparable to the polearms, which have the highest range at 3. Like, some of them do, at least. Like, Orthos Prime, Tombow, and Tombow off the top of my head. So, having range, definitely good. It will improve your room clearing capability. And those are the stats I'd recommend for the Dakra Prime. Those are pretty much a staple. Those 8 will be staple stats for any weapon that is either crit focused or crit status hybrid focused. And a lot of them could be applied into status weapons too. Full on status, like the Tombow. However, as with the changes to condition overload, they're a bit meh, like, according to some YouTubers, but like with my other videos if you've seen them, you've seen that I like to use the Tombow still. it's not, like, there are some categories in which they fall off. For example, I learned this one the hard way. I had a hard time with the Kuvaliches. They were really not helping. But I feel like I've been blabbing on long enough. So, let's go and test this out. Now, Dakra Prime, with this setup, it was a beast. Not as much as Dakra Prime in terms of the combo output, but you see, look, this with slash and viral at kicking at the end. That was nasty. Just downright nasty. Let's show it one more time in case that, just to see if I can, if it's consistent. See, we got slash and viral. Oh, that's even bad. That's even more nasty. Heck, even with the combo counter not resetting, that just goes to show. Like normal missions, it would just be even more of a monster. So you're looking at some pretty decent weapon here. If it's unvaulted, if Mag Prime gets unvaulted with Dakra Prime and the Boar Prime, definitely pick up Dakra Prime. It is well worth it. You may get broken more, but if Dakra Prime shows up and if you'd like to sort of have variety in looks, Dakra Prime will not let you down. And now, onto the final weapon that I have not done the build for, set the build up beforehand. It's a form of meta. And I'll give you a hint. It was the best heavy blade before Galatine Prime came out. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. If you got the weapon in your head? If not, then the weapon I'm going to show you is the Scindo Prime. Now, Scindo Prime, as I said, it was the meta before the change, before the whole introduction of Galatine Prime and mods like Condition Overload and all the melee changes. Before Galatine Prime came out, it was the best damage weapon out there. Now with the introduction of Prime, it fell to the wayside, which is kind of honestly a crime, because look at this. This is a giant battle axe, and look how clean this looks. It has some decent skins too. It's like, as you saw with that yellow variant, it has a really good looking Solstice skin. Where is it? Here it is. See? Like, even with that color, it's a bit too much in the green department, but it's still fairly good. And it can also use all the heavy blade skins, so in terms of cosmetics, it's got plenty to choose from. Oh, I used to run that Kuberus skin, but quite a lot. So it's got a fair few skins that you can go from. So I still like to run, for Scindo Prime, I like to run the base. Occasionally switch to the Solstice, but Scindo Prime, in the looks department, it looks good. Now, onto the build. As I said, I'm going to have to demolish my build because I didn't prep it up beforehand. So, it's pretty much, with its fairly high status chance, I'm going to give it the exact same build as Reaper Prime and Dakra Prime. So, put Fear Strike here. Where's Vicious Frost? We'll throw on Organ Shatter. Shatter here. With Prime Fury is not exactly good in this case because it's fairly low. However, because its crit chance is lower than excuse me. Since its crit chance is lower than Dakra Prime and Reaper Prime, Sacrificial Seal will only bring it up so high. As you can see, it's 72.8% crit chance. For Riven, I can't remember what the disposition for Scindo Prime is, but I'm betting it's fairly high considering how it fell to the wayside because of Galatine Prime and Grand Prime eventually, and Paracesis. Or at the very most, it'd be in the middle at neutral, so 3 dots. So, all in all, it's not bad. And in terms of stats, I'd say crit chance right off the bat, well, all the staple 8. Because that's a fairly high range for a battle axe. So, if you're looking for stats for Riven, I could recommend those 8 every time. Every time, they would help rune clear, raw damage, they would help every melee weapon. With the exceptions being crit chance, crit damage, and status chance. Those 3 are the most situational of the 8. Because of how... See, you wouldn't want status chance on a crit heavy weapon, for example. So, let's just finish off the build real quick. Where's Drifting Contact? So, pretty much same build as the others. However, I've really grown accustomed to using Cleaving Whirlwind. Why? Because, well, Broken Bull was the most broken combo, but I've always had a bit of it was always a headache trying to get it to work for me. Now with just hold forward, I pretty much turned myself into a Windmill of Doom. It's a little bit slow to start with, but once Berserker kicks in, it is definitely going to be worth looking into. So let me put my money where my mouth is. Come in, Mr. Bombard. Now, let me speed up a bit. Okay, there's a dragon. Let me see. It's mostly... If you can fit on something like Arcane Strike onto your Warframe, this will be really good. So, Scindo Prime, worth picking up? Hell yes. It's not... In terms of raw crit chance, it doesn't have as much as Dakra Prime and Reaper Prime, but it makes up for it in spades. It's like... Especially if you use Cleaving Whirlwind. If you like mobility, you can use Tempo Royale, because I did test out the combo, and it's block combo with the whole back, like the idle combo. So if you just want to essentially just like sit around, spam E, and not have to, and just aim where you're going, you don't even have to touch the WASD keys. So Tempo Royale, worth it in that regard. I even tried Rending Crane. If you like the look of it, it's worth it because it's fairly strong, but problem is, it has this little tendency to go out of control, because you could just shoot off in random directions. So, just a bit of a warning. If you're able to control it, then that's well fine and dandy. But I found it hard to control with the melee changes. So, Rending Crane, not my thing anymore. So, I personally prefer Cleaving Whirlwind in this case. But, Scindo Prime, still worth picking up. It's strong. May not be... I have yet to compare it to other meta weapons because I'm still focusing on non-meta. But still, Scindo Prime gets a thumbs up. Now, I'm going to do... I did mostly primes in this one, but I've got a bunch of others in the bucket list. Like, there are so many melee weapons to go through. Like, I went through Machete Wraith, I went through Tonbo, I went through... Sarada, sorry, my memory is like going down the drain as every minute passes. There are so many weapons to go through, and each one is like each one got a massive change. But annoyingly, I'm saddened by this. There's one weapon I wish did get a good change. Kestrel. It's the only weapon I wouldn't touch with these stats. So, I'll go into that in a future video, because this has gone on long enough. So, thanks for watching, and if you watch this on the day I upload, I'll be seeing you tomorrow, because I'm going to be doing a double upload. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will hit you with the...